All right, this will be my first video in many years. I should do different reviews on other stuff, but I deleted all of it because it was pointless. And I'm starting a new channel or a new thing I'm doing. I do a bit of t-shirts and hats, and so this is my heat press. My garage is a mess, but I'll show it to you anyway. This is my hat press. I've got my laser over here. I got some vinyl up there. I got some more. Oh, it's going the wrong way. I got my hats and all my gear. Garage is a mess, like I said, but I want to do a review on this guy first. And then I'll do the hat press another day, and I'll do the glow forge. For now, this is the HPN Heat Press Nation 16 by 20 Pro with the SurePressure or something like that. I think it's SurePressure. So I want to do a review on it because I didn't see many reviews on this model, if any, when I bought it. And I was looking for a heat press. I already had my hat press, and I'll go over that again. That thing's a beast. And I want people to be aware of what I like and what I don't like about it. And maybe it'll help your buying decision. First and foremost, it's a great press. It gets the job done, no doubt about it. It's a monster, though. Like, looking at it, you don't really see the footprint, but it is heavy. It comes in this huge box, and then to get it up onto this table by myself, it wasn't easy. This thing is heavy, like very, very heavy. But that's great that it's heavy, so it doesn't fall off the damn table here, or the bench. But again, it's the HPN 16 by 20. I got a great deal on it because I knew someone that worked at the place that I bought it from, and I got a great deal on it. I was fortunate, and I couldn't go wrong. I do think it's worth the amount that it is at the full retail price. But if I were to do it again, I would save my money and buy something else, and I'll explain why. So I'll tell you what I like first of all. What I love about it is it's 16 by 20, and I wanted a swing away because I didn't want to deal with when you pop it open and you have the angled heat press coming up this way, and you have to like squeeze your hands in there and all that. So this is awesome because I can move it all the way out of the way, and I can do whatever I want here. This cover doesn't come with it. There's a gray mat under here. This cover, I got it on Amazon, 16 by 20. You could just, and it's very helpful, so I'll go over that in a minute. So I love that it swings all the way out of the way, and there's never any wobble when you swing it out of the way. Like, all that weight over there doesn't cause it doesn't feel like it's going to fall over. So it's well made that way. One thing you'll notice when you first start using this guy is that when you start pressing shirts or gear or apparel or whatever you're pressing for that matter, this jolt from this here, it starts to kick your ass. You know, like you feel like your teeth get rattled a bit after a long day of making stuff, because that jerk of up and down, because I don't know if that's with every press. This is my only heat press that I've ever had. So yeah, the SurePressure dial is a must-have. I've never been without it, but I can't imagine trying to work and set the pressure without this. This gauge really tells me where I need to be. And because I've had this press For a long time, I know what number I want to be at for t-shirts, what number I want to be at for hoodies, what number I want to be at for whatever it may be. You know, I can adjust it here. So when I first got this press, I turned this thing too far. I think I went like well past the 0, and something went on in there, and it popped, and I had to take it apart. I called customer service. They tried to help, but they could only do so much. So being that I'm handy, I took the whole thing apart. I took it all apart, and it's very cheaply made inside. There's this little piece of metal that you would be surprised how the internals of this thing works. So I put it all back together, and I got it to work, and I got all my pressure dialed in, and I learned how to use it. But made in China, that's what you're gonna get. You'd be surprised how that thing functions inside. Another thing I didn't like, that I barely discovered maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. I've had this press for a couple years. When I would swing it, every time I swung it back and forth, or I would swing it back and forth, this would adjust just a little bit. The pressure, get that to focus there. This would adjust, the numbers would change. So I always was adjusting it back and forth to where I wanted it to be. And the reason I never bothered to try to figure out why I was doing that was because the one review that I did read or watch about this press, the person said the same thing, that this thing moves on its own when you swing it open and closed. So I thought that was just a faulty part, or a faulty thing about the design, until I figured out that there was a knob here that tightened that. Now if you tighten it too much, then you can't adjust it, and if you tighten it, you loosen it too much, then it turns when you open the press. So you have to find the sweet spot. After pressing many shirts, it'll start to loosen back there, and you got to tighten it back up. But that problem was solved by just that little knob back there that I should have figured out a long time ago. One thing I really wish I had that this doesn't do is the auto open. That's pretty much a must-have. The fact that you have to open this yourself every time is like a whole added job task, because after that thing starts beeping, you have to open this. You can't just let it sit, right? So you have to sit at your press, or at least be nearby, and come over, and when it starts beeping to open it, you have to pop it open. Versus an auto open press that just pops open on its own, and you could be in the bathroom if you want to be. Not that you're going to be, but I'm saying that you can be away from it, doing something else, preparing another shirt or garment, and the auto open is there for you. But this does not auto open, so that is not cool. The benefits that you get from the swing away, you lose with the non auto open, or whatever you would call it. The power box here, or I don't know what you call this, but it's just a basic LCD. You change it over to set your temperature, set your dwell time, and then it'll tell you your temperature once it gets to the desired temperature. There's no multi-function in this press. You can't set it to have your first press be 5 seconds and then your second press be X amount of seconds, like you could on something like this, or another Hotronix heat press for garments. You can't do that. You can only do, it's just press and don't press. That's it. Turn that off. Again, it gets the job done for sure. It's got a nice handle here that I use every single time to swing out and swing in. I just put this cover on recently. I used to have it here on the press itself. I used to cover this side, and I had the mat, which was this gray mat, which was very grippy to the garments on this side. And for some reason, I never thought to put it on this and take it off of this. I always thought I should cover here and not here. So when I would put the garments on, let me see if I can grab a garment. So when I would put the shirts on the platen here, it took, I would have to adjust it. It wouldn't slide like this. So it was a bit of a pain. The good thing is it would grip, so I could put the corners of the shirt over, and it would grip onto the platen nice and firm. The bad thing was it took more time and adjusting to put the garment onto the platen. Also, most DTF and screen print transfer companies and all those transfer companies, they tell you not to use extra covers on your platen, on the upper platen, on the heated platen. So I always had that covered, so it was lowering impacting my temperature of my upper platen because it had the cover on it. So when I would press DTF or screen print transfers, I had to either increase my time or my heat or both because I wasn't accurately following the instructions of the transfers. So whenever I had a garment that I didn't press correctly, I was thinking that those transfers were bad, or I don't know, I was blaming the transfer rather than the way that I was doing it. So I switched this cover from here to here, and I've had nothing but ease since then. Yeah, so a lot of people still cover their platen. I'm not going to cover it anymore. Whenever I do DTF, I always do a second press. So I press the shirt, pull the carrier sheet, and then I use a Teflon sheet like this here, and I cover the garment and the DTF transfer, and I repress it again. I always do a second press with DTF. I like to lock it in. I don't care what you say. That whenever you pull that DTF carrier sheet off, you can just see the edges of the transfer, and I don't care what transfer. I've used most major transfer companies out there. It looks like it's just a little tiny bit coming off, so I like to lock that thing in there, and it looks so much better once you do that second press, my opinion, but to each their own. But I'm happy with it. If I were to do it again, I would get something with auto open, and I would get maybe the air fusion, but that's so much more money. So it's kind of one of those things where you got to start with something smaller or more affordable. I'm very happy that I did get the 16 by 20 rather than the 15 by 15 or anything of a different size. The only thing that was different was the bigger one, which is 16 by 24, and I definitely don't need that. It would have been too big anyway. But the 16 by 20, I can do anything on this platen that I need to do. There's another thing I really hate that I just thought of. This is a non-threadable platen. I can't thread the garment over the platen because of this. What's even more frustrating is that HPN makes threadable platens for pretty much every press they have besides this one. So I was thinking about upgrading the platen to something that I could thread the garment on, and I can't. So I have to do everything I do with the garment on top instead of threading. If you don't know what that is, I'm talking about threading the shirt through it like if it's going over a body onto the platen. And that's That's a big deal, because when you're lining the shirt up, it's so much easier if you're threading the platen on. I mean, the shirt onto the platen. The Fusion, the Hotronix Fusion, and they have that upgraded tag along platen that's got the shape of like a neck and shoulders on it here. So I've never used it, but it looks like it's a pleasure to work with, because you could just easily put the shirt on straight, or the garment, whether it's a hoodie or a t-shirt, which I do a lot of hoodies and t-shirts. Lining that thing up, it goes a long way. You can do it without it, of course. It's just going to take you more time and effort, and all that time adds up after you're doing, 50 to 100 garments. It takes a long time. And the ability to change platens is so huge. Like, there's no other platen I could put on this thing. All of the Fusion, Hotronix Fusion, and the auto open, I don't know what they're called, the clam, they all have interchangeable platens with each other. So you can buy upgraded platens, or not upgraded, but different platens for different applications of garments, like sleeves, and even the hat bills. You can buy the hat bill platens if you want to do hat bills. It's just, there's so many options that you can do, and so many different things, that it's just, think about what you're going to do for your business and where you want to be in the very near future. Not just now, but in the near future. And if you can see yourself saving a little bit of money instead of spending the money on this, which is, I think this is like $1,200 or $1,300. If you can save up to maybe $2,000, $2,500 to get the Hotronix press, then you're gonna be happy down the road, because you'll have auto open, you'll have a threadable platen right out the gate, you'll have the option to buy interchangeable platens, and I assure you, you'll be a lot happier with that unit. If you don't care, and if you're not doing this to one day create a business that's going to take you somewhere else, I assure you this will get you there. This is just as good. This is a great unit, and you'll save a lot of money instead of buying a Hotronix. I just wanted to share that, what I like and what I don't like, and what might help you make your decision. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me on the comments. I'll help you out. Thanks.